I have something to say.
मुझे कुछ कहना है.
Mình phải nói cái gì?
J'ai quelque chose à dire.
Tengo algo que decir.
I have something to say.
This is Chad and Erica, and we have something to say.
Hey guys, this is Erica and
This is Chad.
thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Something to Say.
So today we kind of just wanted to touch on some of the things that are kind of going on with
Like everything.
yeah. But how have you been? How's this last week been for you?
This past week has been pretty good. Yeah, it's been like really I didn't really do anything this weekend. I just chilled and hung out. Didn't really do much.
You've been applying to...
Oh yeah, I've been applying to jobs. Yeah, it's so annoying because I was just telling you how I've been like looking at different jobs, like more in my career, like, you know, like my
Based
choice
on your
of
degree.
career based on my degree. And everywhere that I've been trying to apply, or that any job that really like interests me, is like, oh, must have 5 to 7 years of experience or done like internships on this or something. And I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to get experience if you're not hiring me? Like, explain that to me and then like I'll do it. But so that's been really frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. It's been frustrating because I just want to get out of my current job. And then obviously the pandemic doesn't make it any better because not that many places are hiring for like PR or advertising and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to...
Are you looking like in the city specifically or like out
I'm looking like everywhere. Like it's just been so hard to find
Would
something.
you like consider applying to somewhere in DC or...
I have started applying out of
okay.
state. Like I think Sunday I started because I was like, you know what, I can't find anything like here that like really interests me. So I started applying to other states.
Or like Miami.
Yeah,
I
applied to one place in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have somewhere I can
Yes,
stay at some point.
exactly.
But that's exciting.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I get something, like a call somewhere, at least to like boost my my confidence, because right now I'm like, what the heck, like nobody wants to hire me. So that's been hard, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I would say just continue applying. And you know, I'm sure you'll get something at some point.
Yeah.
But at least you try. You can't win if you don't play.
Yeah,
say, so.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But
But Taylor's new album has
you listen
been,
to it?
yeah.
Folklore, right?
Yeah,
I haven't
it's
checked it
so
out
good. You need to listen to it. I think Jordan's listened to it.
yet. Yeah, I think he's listened to it. I've listened to a few songs with him. That's actually true. But I want to give it a try to just kind of listen to it from start to maybe one day when I'm driving by myself, I'll just kind of like...
It's so beautiful. So happy.
Yeah,
Everything I needed.
I see that it's like doing really well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
On the charts.
Everyone's obsessed with it.
So I'm happy for Taylor. You remember when the Kanye thing just happened?
Oh my
Like,
God.
a lot of people were like kind of cheering him on.
Yeah.
I wonder what we would say to ourselves now, like knowing what we know now about Kanye.
Well, I don't know because I was not cheering him on. So, Taylor Swift fan from day one.
I was shocked that you did that. No, I'm
What
happy.
did you do this weekend?
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that you were able to get some applications in, but
Thank you.
I haven't really done much this week because I was at home pretty much for last week, and we just kind of focused on going to the gym. Also, kind of to the time because it is coming up to the first of, well, not the first, but school is going to be reopening soon or starting soon for me, or would have been. But I'm honestly kind of thinking about whether or not I should start now or I should wait until January, just because of the fact that it's definitely going to be online. And one of the reasons I did apply, like, or was looking more to do like
an in-person class,
school was so I could go like in person and not like otherwise I could have just done like an online
class a long time ago.
But
then it's like not losing time, any more time.
I kind of just want to get started and get it over with. But, so I'm kind of just thinking about that and thinking about my options, but I have like maybe another week at latest
to think about it
over. But I'm definitely coming up to
you need to make a decision soon.
Decide. Outside of that, we did go into the city this weekend to just celebrate one of my friends' birthday. It was just kind of interesting seeing some of the restrictions that they had. And I mean, a lot of the restrictions, I won't say none of them, but a lot of the restrictions this whole like pandemic have just not made any sense. And I did see a couple of those even this last time going on. Like, for example, and I mean, it's good intention, so I can't deny that, but in practicality, it just didn't make any difference. So what I'm talking about specifically is just that this past weekend in Chicago, if you go out together in like a group, your group can't be any larger than 6 people. So like if you're at a table, you can't have any more than 6 people at the table, pretty much. Which I get the logic behind it, but with the place that we went to, the tables were still kind of
really close to each other.
So they put us at side by side tables or whatever, but we could literally just turn around and
you'd have like a table right there. Yeah.
So I just think that like restaurants and stuff like that, they need to start being smart about what they're doing. Yes, the government, I mean, and that's why we have laws and stuff like that to kind of guide people into what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. But I feel like people need to be smarter about like how they're executing some of the restrictions. Like if you know that your space doesn't really even allow for that, then maybe don't do that. But I guess it also falls on the government in some cases, like to really research some of these restrictions. But so there's that, and I just started going back into the office this week.
But you're doing on and off still, right?
Yeah. Okay. But this week I'm in the office, and then next week I'll be home. Back out.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
At least they, I'd say at least they kind of have some sort of restrictions in our work.
I think they just have you there just to have some sort of like normalcy again.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. That kind of brings me into the like whole stimulus bill thing, because a lot of the pushback that Republicans have been giving is that they think that it's going to stop people from wanting to go back to work as per usual. They want the focus to be on reopening the economy more so, versus like giving money to people to alleviate some of the stresses and circumstances that they've been put under. And so it's interesting, some of the backlash. What do you think about it?
I mean, I'd be more than happy to accept another stimulus check, but I do have conflicting thoughts about it, because I don't think if people that are working should be getting more money, and I definitely think if you're like a single parent and you already like lost your job and you need that extra support, then I would understand that, especially now that the $600 are going to be over at the end of this month. I certainly didn't think that we needed a stimulus check when people were in the first place when it happened, because people were getting $600 when they were unemployed. So the people that are employed, it's like, why do they need it? I don't know if I'm just privileged in that matter, where I didn't need to have that money, or I'm not looking at different factors of it. But I didn't think that it was necessary to give people that have jobs $1,200.
Well, like you, I'm not going to turn that money down. So if you're going to send that my way, just let me know. But from my understanding, the reason why they included it was more so just as an advance to cause people to spend money. Because I just assume if they give you this money, you're going to spend it on, and it's going to go back into the economy, and it's going to drive business. Yeah, is their kind of thinking with it. So what Jordan, I like that Jordan had suggested it, but they're going to get this money back somehow. Yeah, from us. That's
sure. Another thing, and like I know Jordan brought it up when the discussion when the discussion of the first stimulus check was gonna come out. I know when Jason was over too, and like we were talking about it, he was like, they're gonna add it into our taxes like some way or another. Like, and I agree, they're gonna add it somewhere, but we're gonna be paying everyone paying for that one way or another. So that's another thing I have an issue with. It's like, I don't know.
So my concern with it too is like, I mean, I understand like the fact of putting money into the economy and like driving business in that sense and giving money to people that desperately need it. But where's this money coming from?
Yeah, that's exactly my issue here.
So it's like we're on $4 or $5 trillion right now.
Yeah.
You know,
so it just gives me anxiety thinking about the economy and like people saying like, oh, this is gonna be like another Great Depression or whatever. That stuff gives me a lot of anxiety. So I'm like, no, I don't need a stimulus check. That's fine. We don't need to. At
this point, I think I'm not really fearful of us going into another Great Depression. I feel like there are enough like resources out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully, where humanity can at least.
I think there are a lot of plan B's, C's, and D's to like prevent like a market crash or like another Great Depression, but it's just the fact of like where the money's going. Is this like, are we gonna, or is it gonna be going at like, how am I gonna be paying back for it? How is like the whole country gonna be paying this back? That really bothers me, especially seeing how billionaires aren't really contributing to paying any of that back, so it's all left up to us to pay back. So I don't know that. I definitely think if someone's kind of, I don't know, like if like what I said, like if I'm just too privileged to see it on this point of view, but like I think if you are struggling to make ends meet because you lost your job, right now you have an extra $600. You've been having extra $600, and I know people that did lose their job, and are making now more money than they were when they were working. So I think that definitely maybe having something like that, but maybe like $400 extra or whatever for the unemployed in the meantime. But people that are employed, I'm like, I don't know if you should be getting that additional paycheck. Because if you...
Like you and me.
Yeah. I'm like, as much as I would love to have that, I'm looking at like the long-term effects of what...
And giving everyone.
That will happen to everyone.
It's also, so the limitation that they have is that it would be everyone that earns under $90,000. Up to about $70,000, you get $1,200, and after that, it's reduced to about I don't know how much, but it's reduced after like $70,000 or $80,000, and up to pretty much $100,000, you don't get any after that.
But I don't get it. Like if I have a job, why do I need $1,200?
So it's not that you need it.
I know it's to like, but I'm still
spend like spend that money. You're going to go to the shop.
But I'm not. I'm gonna have anxiety about. The country going broke, and I'm keeping it. Yes, I'm like saving like crazy. I'm like, no, I can't.
But that's also helping the bank because now the bank has more money to
give it to others.
Yeah, so that's true.
Taking out my money from the bank and now putting it under my mattress.
And I listened to this interesting podcast about like talking about debt and just like how rich people put their money into the bank, and the bank uses that money to essentially give loans
to us
for more rich people to make more money. So it's an interesting, you realize debt is an instrument that's been created to almost make rich people richer
Yeah.
and poor people poorer. Like, it's an insane society that we really live in. That
Scary.
yeah, but it is scary the amount of debt that is piling up, and that's like you said, not being carried by the rich. It's the regular middle and lower class people that are feeling it and gonna in the future, or kids are gonna pay the brunt of that, because
exactly,
it's not feasible to have that much debt.
Like, why the fuck do we owe that much? Like,
but honestly, you see, this is the thing. A lot of this debt has come from the purchase of military equipment, unnecessary like expenditure on military equipment. I mean, I know that this is America and there are a lot of enemies, and we have to be realistic. Like, you know, a lot of people do want to harm the country, but I feel like there's still some unnecessary like military spending and investments that goes on there, especially when it comes to like contracts that certain companies get, the amount of money that they give to like Sikorsky, which is like I think they're a helicopter airline manufacturer, not airline, but helicopter military manufacturer. But yeah, there's a lot of money to be spent in military. So that's one thing that I think that needs to be shrunk to, first of all,
be careful not to use the word defunded.
Defund the military. No, I'm kidding. I think that there's just too much money spent. Even when it's
so much unnecessariness. I'm like, why are police departments getting this much money
and getting drones and missile launchers, and
like, why do they need that? I'm just like,
you're not dealing with like a civilian army or something.
Literally,
like, it's not a militia, or I mean, I guess in some places you have like I don't know. But
that brings back now the topic of what's happening in Chicago.
Oh my God.
That's because we're in the suburbs of Chicago, and I was reading like an article, and it says that this past weekend, 3 people have been killed and 56 more were wounded. Citywide of gun violence came up to 10 people dead and 60 more wounded. And I know that Kayleigh McElhaney, or whatever her name is, the press secretary, spoke out on Mayor Lightfoot on like what is she doing to protect like the people in her city, and Mayor Lightfoot responded with like some sort of like Karen,
don't talk about it.
don't talk about like, or be quiet Karen, something like that. But since then I have seen a few posts where like people are upset
because they feel like she isn't like she's anything. Joking about it. It's not a joking situation. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, like you oppose Trump and his team, but at the end of the day, is this really something that you can refuse help on?
When innocent people are
dying.
Or
yeah, you know, I mean, it's a crazy situation, like, and it just kind of brings into the focus of like, where's your limit with how you relate to deal with Trump, because you don't want to deal with, like, I mean, if he's just like, if it was Obama that was reaching out and saying, hey, let me know if you guys need any resources to go into the city or anything, I'm sure she would have responded kindly and accepted that. But I think a part of it was just how Trump and Kayleigh, or whatever, what her name is.
Kayleigh McElhaney.
How they reached out. I think how they did it, how they initiated the exchange was wrong, or just maybe too aggressive. Yeah. You know how Trump is. He does everything.
They be jabs, but also she needs to learn how to respond to those jabs and like actually do something to...
That she kind of just like left it out, like, okay, lady, just be quiet.
And then just leaving it at that, and it's like, no, you need to address what is actually happening in the Chicago city, and and actually do something. Say,
like, maybe don't reach out to me like that, Kayleigh.
Yeah. But I just think that it's like, it goes back to the whole thing as to why people in the middle and are so sick of like of all this. It's like, because protecting citizens and people in your city should not be a political thing. If you do need the help and the resources, you should be taking it from Trump, even if you don't like him, because this is to protect your people and like your city, and you're not doing anything to help or whatever. So
I know, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, they've been upset too, because a lot of people voted for her because she was black and because she's also gay, and she seemed different, and she seemed to provide like some hope of actually
like a
being
change
or changing. But people are now seeing that maybe she is just someone that is there for the money. Like she actually is apparently buying a new house now, like for a couple million in Chicago with her wife, doing it big.
what?
I mean, it just doesn't look really good for her. I mean, and that she's entitled to do that because she's making that money, and
I feel like a lot of
likes,
politicians are doing that also. It's not just her that are like
they kind of just get swept up
into the memes and the
fun
jabs on Twitter,
exactly.
Making the subtweets, and it's like, what is this? Don't stoop down to his level
and actually get the work done.
Get the work done and show that Democrats are able to take control and are just as like strict about like laws, and
I just hate that, like, I hated this from the get-go, but like everybody's been running on this anti-Trump like platform, and I think it doesn't work.
And it doesn't. And I think that what they are doing is make I'm not like really to the far left, because it's like so radical, and I think that the reason why they become so radical is because Trump is so far right, he's like so on the far right, and they're radical. So I think they're just trying to do one another in each side, and like compete at who's
realistic.
And no one's being realistic, no one's getting anything done, and it's like, oh, Trump is saying like, you guys wanted to fund the police, now Trump's gonna
give them more money,
and it's like it's annoying.
I think that like them running on the anti-Trump like platform, I think it doesn't work because they need to be running on actual policies, like running on actual policies, like, the things that are actually going to help people. So I think it's interesting that Joe Biden.
It's okay.
I don't know if you've seen what his like new platform is, and pretty much it's the same as what Trump is saying. He's like, it's another form of Make America Great Again. He's like wanting to focus on American businesses, and he's pushing that like message, which I think is really smart. Like that's more a better angle to take it from, rather than just saying we need to get rid of Trump. But get rid of Trump, why? Like, why are people voting for Trump? There's an underlying reason behind it. And not to say that I agree with like what he's saying, but like I think that there are things that a lot of people in America are dealing with and are just not happy about. So he's just a representation of all of that. But I was talking to one of my coworkers, and like she was kind of explaining to me that like she was talking to her brother, and he's like a Trump supporter. So she's like an elderly, like not elderly, but she's like in her 50s, like an older white woman. And she was talking to her brother about like pretty much the whole election and like who to vote for. And she was pretty much saying like it's her problem. Like she's really struggling now, because it's hard for her to choose between Joe Biden and Trump. And like she kind of explained that the thing with Trump, like that she likes, is that his policies are like they're pretty much like they're effective, or like they're stuff that are needed right now. And then she quoted his immigration policy and his economic like policies, like with the tax cut and job act and stuff like that. And I respond, I kind of tried to just, because it was at work, so I didn't really want to.
It's like an uncomfortable thing to talk about at work.
Exactly. I kind of just responded like, well, I mean, his immigration stuff hadn't really been that good. Like, he had,
Yeah.
you know, and because she had gone on to say something about, like, a lot of the people, this is what happened. So she went on to talk about, like, her husband. Her husband he's Mexican. And, I don't know how he came here, but she pretty much was saying that, like, oh, she's not listening to this episode.
Oh, she
doesn't listen to podcasts. But, she was saying that, like, her husband came here the right way, quote unquote. And, she was saying that, well, like, why can't the other, like, why can't the rest of them do that?
That's the most annoying
like,
challenge or dispute that people, like white people or Americans, try to use when it comes.
But she was saying that her husband also, like, he shared the same feeling.
A lot
like,
of
he thought that he came here the right way, so his family should be able to come the right way too. So I kind of responded to her, like, you know, a lot of these people, like, I understand that they're doing something illegal, which is crossing the border, which is technically an illegal act.
Yeah.
I mean, not technically, it is. But they're trying to escape poverty and, like, violence and things that just are not, factors that are not sustainable, like, don't make a life sustainable for them there.
That might have not been a reason why her husband was able to come here. Like, what does he do for a living?
Yeah, I don't know how he came, honestly, but, you know, and then she went on to say her brother, I'm not sure if it's the same Trump supporter brother, but one of her brothers apparently married somebody, and they had to go back and forth between Mexico for a while because she had to go back, so she did the right thing. And I'm like, ultimately, I think the government needs to reform immigration. There needs to be a pathway to citizenship, an easier pathway to citizenship for people that want to come here. Because the truth is that I've gone through, when I was in Jamaica, my family tried to file for me initially, like when I was very, very young, like for my mom and my sister and whatever to come here. And the process was, like, really tedious. It took years. And it ultimately, like, something ended up not, like, going wrong, so it didn't have to work out. But just to say that it did take a very, very, very long time. And sometimes people do try to do the right thing, quote unquote, with coming here, but just because there isn't a right way to go about it, honestly, like the bureaucracy and going through that process is just not something that's cheap. Even people that are here that are eligible for citizenship can't even file a lot of times because they can't afford it. So imagine people that are outside of the U.S. and
suffering from poverty or violence or whatever their
the cheapest way, they just want to give somebody a couple $100s and hope that they don't bring them into,
especially if your situation is like one of those two factors, like violence or poverty. You don't have time to wait around like 2-3 years or most times even longer than that to do things, like you said, the right way. And people are left with a choice of either like feeding their children or protecting their children, or having them die of hunger or gang violence. So times were a lot different back then. Since you're saying she's like in her 50s, times are so much more different than it was back then. The violence in Mexico is getting worse, as well as it is down in like even countries below Mexico. And so is like poverty. There are so many like Hispanic countries that are in poverty right now, and like, what are you supposed to do? And a lot of the poverty and a lot of the reasons why people, a lot of Hispanics and like people from like Caribbean countries had to flee to America is because of what the United States has done to those countries. So a lot of Americans talk so much crap about Hispanics and other countries, or other people coming from other countries, when they don't educate themselves on what their own country has done to these countries and why they have to flee to America.
It's insane because, like, the US has been involved in so many coups to overthrow different governments that maybe they weren't allowing them to get into their oil business, or they're not allowing them to get into their lithium business. They overthrew the governor of, not the governor, but I think it's Peru or one of those Latin American countries. Pretty much they have a lot of lithium. Mm-hmm. And
that's what they do with
for like electric cars, the batteries use that. So like Tesla is apparently trying to go into this country. I think it's Bolivia. So Evo Morales, I believe, was their prime minister, but he was ousted by another party in this country. But that coup was facilitated by the United States. So a lot of people are saying that the reason behind their interest in facilitating that coup was because he didn't want the U.S. involved in their lithium industry.
Because anytime the U.S. gets involved, the whole economy and like the whole country goes to shit. Because, and if I can't remember what country it is, it's like Guatemala or something. They have so much like oil too, and like it's gonna bother me. I don't want to talk out of my ass.
A series of land.
Yeah, Guatemala is the only oil producing country in Central America, with black gold being its fourth highest export. Guatemala is the only oil producing country in Central America, with black gold being its fourth highest export. And so
they're taking the oil from Guatemala as well, or were taking the oil from there?
I believe that's what they were doing at one point, or they tried to do, and even though Guatemala has black gold, and it's the only country in Central America with black gold, yet Guatemala is like under so much poverty right now, is ridiculous. And it's because of all the corruption not going on just in Guatemala, but the control that the U.S. tries to have over all the countries. So people need to really educate themselves on what is actually going on in other countries, and how America's involvement has affected their economic status, and why their citizens are fleeing
their home countries because of that. A large part of it also is the so pretty much I think back in the 1970s, or maybe a little bit before that, with back when cocaine was just starting to get popular, the U.S. was essentially buying that from Latin American countries, or people like in Latin American countries, bringing that to the U.S. and like bringing guns in there. So they were facilitating like a cocaine ring, and that cocaine was essentially ending up into black communities where they were making crack, and like the cycle just continues. So the U.S. facilitating all these different like interventionist like actions really like you said, destroyed a lot of the economies in these countries, because then they're bringing guns into Latin America, and those guns are the same ones that the gangs are getting, and militias like in Colombia are able to get to pretty much like tear a country apart. So the U.S. has to play some parts in in the solution. I think another solution, and like a lot of people have suggested this too, but another solution would be for the U.S. to directly invest somehow into these communities in Latin America. So instead of, that would kind of create opportunities for people there in Latin America or in whatever country, so that they wouldn't need to come here. If it is so important for you to, I mean, that's an ultimate like end.
It's not good enough, because then Americans complain, why are so many businesses in other countries and not in the U.S.? Why aren't we providing people in our country jobs? That's like the number one thing I hear at my job. It's like, why am I like speaking to someone out of a different country. Like, you guys should be giving jobs to people in the U.S. So I feel like it's never good enough for people that only want to see it one way and want to see it as a black or white issue.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. A lot of people are going to see it that, and it's a reality. Like, the government isn't even spending money here in the U.S. to take care of people that are here. So how would they then be able to spend money on people in other countries? But honestly, it's something they're doing now. They have USAID and all these different organizations that are already giving money to countries, but they're doing so with the intention of getting something back, and so that's essentially why they invest in any country right now. But ultimately, they need to deal with people in the US too, and I feel like the only way they're going to do that is if they reform like taxes. We're going to have to start taxing companies at a more equitable like rate, because there's no way that the tax burden that we have now, the amount of money that's owed, can stay that way. So we need to start like looking at a way of bringing that debt down, restructuring that debt, whatever the case may be, to get maybe less interest rates or whatever the case. But that's still a lot of money. That's like trillions and trillions of dollars, and a lot of it's owed to, like, it's on the U.S. government owes itself. It's almost like, so it's, this whole thing is just one big load of shit.
Yeah. Seriously. How did we go from Chicago to this?
I know. I'm really looking into this CIA thing, because I don't know if you watched Snowfall. You should watch it. It's a really interesting show.
Okay.
So pretty much it follows this guy that he lives in like central Los Angeles back in around the 70s or so. But he gets he wants to make money or whatever, so he gets recruited pretty much into selling cocaine. He meets this link that is able to get him the cocaine, and that link is with the US government. That guy gets the cocaine from Colombia or something like that, or Nicaragua, and he works for the CIA, and his intent is pretty much to get, I'll have to do some research into it, but pretty much to get cocaine into the US from Nicaragua, and to give them guns. So I believe that was a trade that they did. And it was with a militia. But it's really based on this conspiracy of like the CIA intervening in like Nicaragua and Colombia and those countries to spread discord and drama to, because a lot at that time there were socialist governments that were in power, so they wanted to create trouble and mischief and all that, so that people would want to vote them out. And
where can I find this show?
I think it's on FX.
Okay.
It's on FX, and it's also on, I want to say, Hulu. Snowfall, Hulu, or Netflix. No, it's on Hulu. Yeah, you can get your. Do you have Hulu?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it is on there, I think.
Okay.
And even Panama. Did you know that they invaded Panama?
Yeah.
And that's how they got the Panama Canal. There's a conspiracy in Jamaica too that they killed Bob Marley. The CIA killed Bob Marley.
What? Really?
Because at the time, the prime minister that we had, or closer to that end, he was leaning towards like socialism. He was like getting really close to Fidel Castro, which is Cuba's like really close to Jamaica. So he was building up a really close relationship to Fidel Castro, and the US government didn't like that. And Bob Marley was spreading a message of peace and love and unity to, which could potentially sway the election into the favor of that party. So I guess they kind of figure, it kind of goes back into the same message of them also wanting to create discord and kind of create mischief. So it was rumored that they gave guns to like inner city kids like, and people and men that were like gang members and stuff like that. to go after Bob and just like creating mischief and stuff like that. But that's honestly like, how do you think a lot of guns end up in Central America and the Caribbean?
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
They all originate from the US. And that's, I don't think that a lot of people even realize that. That's how like a lot of the crime that's happening today, the guns that they find today in Jamaica and like a lot of these countries, the serial numbers are all rubbed off, but
yeah,
Jamaica doesn't make guns. And does Mexico make guns? I don't know. But a lot of these guns are made in the US, and the sad reality is that they're being trafficked outside of the US. They were trafficked a long time ago and still are being trafficked to developing countries. And honestly, the intent is to create chaos because that benefits the US. That makes sure that these countries still rely on the US and the monopoly that it has over people. So
it's just so many things that Americans try to have opinion about, but don't know fully like what their country did.
And I mean, it's hard because like in this day and age, we live in 2020. Like 9/11 wasn't that long ago, and we still are having, incidents of terrorism. We still are very cautious because we know that at any moment something like that could happen. But and because of that, you do want to be able to monitor and just keep track of who is coming into the country. But the thing is, I feel like we don't have an immigration system that is able to facilitate that effectively, and our priorities are just not right. Like, if you want to know who is here for safety reasons or whatever, you don't have to make people feel like they're criminalized, so that you can facilitate them coming in and saying, hey, we're here, this is where we're at, this is our name or whatever, and we could all benefit from that because they could also pay taxes and different stuff. But it's all in our priorities and just us wanting to maintain our privileges, and this is our land versus your land, when this ain't ours anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, none of this is ours. This is whoever created this world, it's theirs.
That's whose it is, yeah.
So who are we to even claim this space? Like, who are we exactly? Wow. It's just it's
a lot.
Really,
it's so much to get into that it's like overwhelming, because I don't know, I just take a lot of issue with a lot of people that just speak that way. I'm like, do you even know history? Like,
because at the end of the day, like, I feel like people that come across the border versus people that leave the US, based on statistics, it almost balances out. There isn't like a net increase from what I understand. And that could have changed because the information that I had read at the time might have been outdated, or might not cover the last 10 years or whatever. But in general, it's said that net migration is stagnant.
Yeah.
So the only increase is probably just from births and versus deaths that a country is experiencing at this time, at least. If
I'm right, I read something like a few years ago. Less people are crossing the border from Mexico to the U.S. compared to exactly. So a lot of what Trump put in everyone's brain, or like the people on the right, is like the whole fear mongering thing. You have this like idea that there's this. They're gonna take everyone's, and I think that's like the biggest fear for everyone. Like, not as much as like, because I've spoken to a few people about like the immigration thing, and a lot of people that do support Trump in this cause is that they need jobs here. Like, Americans need jobs, and we shouldn't be bringing more immigrants to the U.S. when we're not even taking care of our own people. There's so many jobs that like Americans
don't
do.
even want, yeah.
So, yeah.
These places are always, like, you always see the health wanted sign, like.
I always see McDonald's and Wendy's hiring and Burger King.
There are a lot of factories even in, like,
factories
Chicago,
that are, like, desperate
hiring.
need of workers, and nobody wants to take those jobs, even though you need the job, but nobody's willing to do.
It's unfair also, I feel like, to just, like, automatically jump to, like, the jobs that Americans don't want also. Like, I feel like we need to realize that people that come here can also create businesses, and they can create opportunities, and maybe they have a degree too.
Yeah.
And they can get, like, an advanced job too. But I feel like we need to stop thinking about, like, it being taken away from us. And like, there are a lot of Americans that do want opportunity, that do need jobs too. And that just goes back for me. The government needs to start making more of an effort to look after Americans, but also to
the thing is, it's not an immigration. It's not the immigrants. Like, it's not the immigrants' problem that American politicians are not taking care of you or following their word of, like, what they were going to do prior to elections, because I think
that's true.
What a lot of the people that are complaining about, like, the job, like, possible job loss because of Hispanics or immigrants coming to America, those are the people that don't have degrees, that aren't that's why it's when the people that I've had conversations with are people without degrees, without any, like, generational wealth, any sort of skills that were given to them, people that were at one point even, like, arrested or been in jail for a few years. And the thing is, it's not immigrants that are going to be that are failing you. It's the politicians and the people in government
isn't really looking out for and instituting policies and social stuff that would be
to
able
help you build those skills and build a better person, because it all starts from when you're a child and the opportunities that aren't given to you. And so many people that are in poverty or in lower middle class don't get the same opportunities as people are in higher middle class or higher class, and they're directing their anger towards the wrong people.
Honestly, I think too that, and this is just the impression that a lot of immigrants have, like, looking from outside of the U.S., we get the impression that, like, a lot of Americans that grow up here, white Americans especially, like, there are a lot of opportunities, like, when they're growing up, that they just don't take advantage of. And, you know,
and that's not the case.
The fact that immigrants come and they do take advantage of that stuff. Like, we find the cheaper classes and you know, things that might be free that you can take advantage of to get certain certifications. That's the thing.
It's like I see both sides, because it's like I know with my parents, they looked for any way to, like, make money, and they did not feel bad about taking a certain job that maybe, like, an American would have not wanted to have. Even if they were, like, jobless, they would not take the job. And I think Americans are so used to being handed, like,
jobs or
opportunities, or so used to just, like,
you don't really go hunting for.
Yeah, they just stay. They're comfortable with staying where they are. But then again, it's like, I understand where they're coming from, because the people in government let them down for so long and so many, sometimes multiple times. But I don't know. I think it's, like, an issue with the actual person and also with the government.
Yeah, I think it's the government too, honestly. The government needs to do better by people, ultimately. And just, like, there needs to be better policies, social structures from birth, because that's when it really starts.
Exactly. You know? I have to clear side. I know another thing that's happening is, like, Joe Biden is going to be announcing his VP pick for
the election.
The election, and that's gonna be like, I think he said in August he's announcing it, or end of August.
It's supposed to be in a week, I think I saw.
Okay, yeah, so then beginning of August.
Oh yeah, July's ending.
Yeah.
This year's literally flying by.
How do you feel about people saying he has to pick like a black female, or like I think someone mentioned like Amy Klobuchar and also what's her name?
Warren.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren. And people were upset because they were like, no, you should be picking a black woman.
I think it's a lot of the push to make a black woman the VP is just to kind of counteract the his history of actions with the black community, with the crime bill and like different stuff like that. Him not really back in the day, I guess that's what they thought was the right thing, but they were really voting not in the interest of people of color and communities of color, So I think because of that, there's this push to pretty much make the VP, I would say more of a woman of color, and it just, for some reason, it just kind of falls into a black woman. I'm trying to think if there's like a notable Hispanic woman. I think there was.
I think it's the one from New Mexico.
I honestly would be happy with any of the options there because they all seem like such great options. I do like Elizabeth Warren, and
I like her too.
I think I'm biased because I like Kamala Harris also.
I really like Kamala, but she did terrible in the the not just the debates, just like her campaign did terrible. She was out of the campaign like really soon too, like she gave up real quick. So
I don't think it's not that she gave up real quick. I think people were just not able to coalesce around her because of the whole like she was a prosecutor and people just didn't like identify with her type of politics. But even for that, like I think that she was just like following, but she was very also like I thought she was very centered in her politics, which was shocking that people were like she wasn't that she was very moderate, like,
but I thought that was like I liked that about her.
I think that's a realistic honestly stance to take right now versus like being very revolutionary and wanting to shake up everything right now. You can do that when you get elected, like nobody's stopping you from doing any of that, but I think that people need to focus on electability right now and who is going to be seen as electable from the other person. Exactly. Because
it's like, we know all the liberals and Democrats are going to vote Democratic, but we need to look at the people that are in the middle or that are sick of Trump's crap that did vote for him in 2016, and we need to see how are we going to earn their votes. And I think
or the people that are just not sure who to choose between.
Exactly. So I think it's like it's making it so difficult for someone to choose when both parties are being so crazy and radical. I don't know. I hope he does pick a woman. I don't really care if it's a woman of color or a white woman. I think
I just think any of the women would
be really good. That'd be like a good step to a good step forward, and
because at the end of the day, I feel like the policies that are going to be instituted right now, like we all know the direction that the party is going into, and we all see the way the country is going. Eventually, we're going to get Medicaid, like for all. I feel like, and we're gonna. I think so. I think at some point we will.
I maybe see that happening in like 15 or 20 years. I don't see that anytime soon.
Because I feel like we still need to focus on like where that money would come from. I think that's the biggest thing. So once we get like proper taxation with like businesses, I feel like after that we can look at maybe going Medicaid for all or looking at other ways to incentivize college or make college cheaper. One thing Trump did recently was to sign a bill into law actually about reducing medical payment for medicine, pretty much. So just reducing that cost. So stuff like that is like really what Democrats really need to focus on. Into doing, because like that's a real problem that Americans will be able to identify with.
Yeah.
You know,
majority of bankruptcies are because of healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare costs and like people just not being able to afford that. And he's also trying to get hospitals to be able to you have like for that you would have to see the costs for like surgeries or any other procedure. He's trying to get that to be like readily available for you. Yeah,
because it's like I go in there and it's a surprise. I get home with a fucking
after
bill and I'm like, what?
Is when you see you have a $20,000 bill.
Yeah.
Like you can't find that information out. Like it's so hard for you to get that information beforehand. So that's another thing that Americans
make me think twice about going in for that heart attack.
Exactly, right? Like, let me just try to stay home. 'Cause I don't know what that bill's gonna be like. But we really should have that information, and we should be able to shop around. And I think
it should be accessible. Yeah.
I think that's something that is really good that he is working on. So I mean, honestly, with Trump, like, I feel like a lot of the things that he does, not all of them,
because if he wasn't such an idiot about so much he would say,
exactly.
I'd be
I feel like it's just
okay,
execution, how he goes about it.
Yeah.
Like there are some good stuff. Like he did sign a bill into law to reduce like prison in like the number of people in prisons. Like that's something good that he's done he's worked few on. Good things, and it's always overlooked because he has to ruin it with him opening his mouth or his Twitter fingers. And people like he and his advisors just don't do enough research, because going back to the whole immigration thing, like they would see that if they were focusing on the right thing, they would be able, and doing enough research, they'd see that, like you said, not as many people are even crossing the border at this time. And if you really want to stop asylum seekers from, coming here, there's so many other ways to do that, But at the end of the day, the asylum process right now does allow for a lot of these people to, like, that's something that's legal for them to be able to take advantage of. So exactly, how is it that you're stopping that? Like, that's literally, so fix the law if you have a problem with it, but or create proper laws where they don't exist right now. So what have you been watching this past week?
Okay, so I finally finished That 70s Show.
Yes, have you?
For like the fifth time. And I just started watching just a few documentaries here and there. I finished reading Untamed, or hearing Untamed, because I listened to the audiobook. It was really good, so anyone who's looking for like a good read or even like something to listen to, Untamed's like a really good book. It just kind of like talks about it's someone telling their own story and how they uncovered themselves like at a later age, and how they're like more than happy than ever. So it's something that really like resonated, I guess, because I feel like so many of us feel like if you don't have your life together by the age of like 26 or 27, then like you have no chance at like getting through life. So I think that was something very like inspiring and like a good read. And what else? I watch a lot of shows. I've been catching up on The Housewives. Oh my god. I can't with The Housewives of Beverly Hills. I know you don't watch it. I wish you did, so then we could like talk about this and have like a whole fucking episode on this. But
Canada's like watch like
this is for Rosendo. Brandy is a bitch. I fucking hate her. And yes, Brandy and Denise probably hooked up, but
Brandy and Denise?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They probably did hook up, but Brandy is probably just lying about a lot of other stuff, including Kyle and Teddy. That's all I have to say about Housewives of Beverly Hills. I did watch the Housewives of New York. I caught up on that, and that was crazy. And yeah, the Housewives are like fucking crazy. I cannot wait for Housewives of Potomac. That's something that probably you would be able to catch up on easily, because I think this is like season 3 or 4 that's coming up. So because like Housewives has like 8, the Housewives of Beverly Hills has like 8 seasons, and New York, yeah, too. They have like so many seasons.
So just like
try Housewives of Potomac or something. Then you can start from season 1 and catch up. But you're gonna have to literally watch like at least 3 episodes a day.
That's gonna be a challenge.
But yeah, that's what I've been watching.
To check it out, honestly.
Yeah.
Wait, have you seen the Emmy nominations? Have you seen any? So it's been interesting because like I've been just seeing different stuff about some of the shows that have won. I don't know if you know Euphoria. That's another show you should watch. Have you watched it?
I've watched a few episodes, and then I got locked out of HBO. So then, but I know my sister Nicole watched it, and she said it was so good.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna have to rewatch it now, honestly, because
I'm gonna watch it now. Yeah,
it's such a great show. So Zendaya got nominated for Best Actress, I believe. Best Actress for drama. So Zendaya got that, but I also saw that Little Fires Everywhere that got nominated. Oh my god,
yes. I loved
Kara
Little
Washington
Fires.
got nominated too.
I love her. Yes, so happy for her.
Pose. So one of the upsets.
Oh yeah, aren't people really mad that
they didn't get many nominations?
Oh, not Pose, but Reese Witherspoon didn't get like a nomination. So I think I saw that on Twitter's trending topics that people were upset that Reese didn't get any nominations.
Yeah, I don't think I see it. I don't think I see her name here either. But I did see Kara Washington's nomination. She got Best Actress Limited Series or TV movie.
She's such a good actress.
Mm-hmm. Another show I saw that got nominated was Dead to Me. It's on Netflix.
Yes, I watched that. Yes,
it's such a good show.
Oh my god! I started watching season 2 like this week too. I'm barely like on episode 3.
But I think it got canceled after that.
Why?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make anymore. I think I saw. There's gonna be a 3rd season, but that's the last one. Damn it. But everybody should check out that show. And Euphoria. Insecure also got nominated. And so those are a couple of notable shows.
Okay, so finish Dead to Me and watch Euphoria this week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And maybe rewatch Little Fires Everywhere.
Oh my god, that show is so good.
Yeah. No, I think I'm gonna rewatch Euphoria I'm starting this week. And something else I want to get back into is Better Call Saul. I don't know if you've ever watched it.
No, what is that?
It's kind of a spin-off from Breaking Bad.
Oh, I loved Breaking Bad. Oh my god.
So the lawyer in there, he got like a spin-off or whatever. But it's also
it's on Netflix, right?
A couple of the seasons are on Netflix, but the recent one isn't yet.
Oh my god.
I'm like trying to catch it. But it's such a good show though. It's super interesting. It kind of is slow to the beginning, but once it gets into it, it gets into it. But yeah, what are we watching this week outside of that? I think I finished Imposters. I think I did I tell you about that show last week. So it's such a good show as well. So they're pretty much
there's so much I need to catch up on. I've just been
a lot.
Usually I'm like binge watching anything and everything people recommend, and lately I've just been.
And I started that 70 show too. So I'm on season 1 for that now. I wanted to end with one thing. So Where's that list that do you still have it?
What list?
You shared it on the story.
Oh, yeah. It's hydrate, meditate, masturbate, wash your hands, wear a mask, vote, heal. I'll send it to you.
So, how would you organize that? Like, if you had to put that in order for yourself.
Okay, so let me see. Masturbate would be definitely last because I don't do that. Number 1, vote. 2, heal. Hydrate, meditate. Oh, dang, wash your hands and wear a mask are pretty important. That's hard. I don't know. Maybe wash your hands and wear a mask, vote, heal, hydrate, meditate, and then masturbate. It's opposed to... I'm dead.
So for me, how would I put it? I'm gonna say, wash your hands, wear your mask, because those two are really essential. I would say vote next, and then masturbate, hydrate, meditate, and heal. No, healing is also really essential though. I feel like healing has to be up there. So I'm going to put healing after voting. So wear your mask.
Healing after voting, yes.
Wear your mask, wash your hands, vote, heal, masturbate, hydrate, and then meditate.
Meditate last. Okay.
Damn, it's all important.
Yeah, literally. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think we're gonna have an episode on.
Yeah, so new episode coming soon. Chad's favorite topic. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my god, that's gonna be so uncomfortable for me. Sorry, Mom.
No, I'm sad. But so thanks for joining in. We truly appreciate it for everyone that spent the time to listen, and like a lot of people have given their feedback to say, you know, that they enjoyed the show and like it sparks a conversation for them. So I'm really glad that this is able to create that opportunity.
Yeah.
So keep doing that. Keep sharing. Keep reaching out to us. And just let us know if you have anything that you would like to discuss. And thanks for joining.
Thank you.
This has been another great episode of Something to Say.